Hi, Scott Neal with Fibrenew, West Central Jersey, here in New Jersey with Jesse, spending the day going out on the road. Thinking back to when I first started in this business, obviously it's a pretty daunting task for most people to start a first-time business for themselves. And you know, I thought, okay, what are the things that I can do to really get myself ramped up quickly and, you know, take advantage of the franchise system that I bought into. So obviously for me it was obvious that I was going to take full advantage of the training program that took place after the initial 2-week training. That back then it was the apprentice program, now it's called the field training program. And that was basically follow these steps, and they're proven steps, and that will give you the best opportunity to succeed. And I saw no reason not to follow that to a T. Obviously, Fibrenew's been in business for 30, 40 years. Why would I come in thinking that I'm going to know how to do it better than them? So anyway, I followed the training program to a T, was in contact with Bruce Nurse constantly. I was hitting 10, 15, 20 sales calls a day at car dealers, auto body shops. You know, then eventually they moved into furniture and all those things. But the big thing was, and what made me more relaxed about my whole process was, I never went into a sales call anticipating a sale. My sales call was 2, 3, 4 minutes, or a lot of times it developed into more, but that was the customer's choice, not mine. I never kept people longer than that on my own. And the whole thing was build a relationship, let them know what we do, and be as likable as possible, and let them know that I'm going to be back on a regular basis. And then, by the way, you show up and you're back on a regular basis. One of the biggest things with our quote-unquote competition is they don't show up professional like we do. They don't show up regularly like we do. They don't do the quality work that we do. Even right out of the gate, the quality of our work was as good, if not better, than the competition. And now, after 3.5, 4 years, it's not even close, our quality versus the competition. So anyway, that consistency and persistency over time, and seeing as many people and talking to as many people as I possibly could in that first 2, 3, 4 months, not only brought business in those 2, 3, 4 months, but even to this day, I'm getting phone calls from people that say, hey, I have your card, I used to work at so-and-so Toyota dealer, you did a sales call, we couldn't use you back there, but I'm at a different place and now I can use you. I get those calls still to this day, 3, 4 years later, from when I dropped those cards off. So the most important critical thing is to consider yourself planting seeds. That's all you're doing. You're planting seeds, and then you're showing up once in a while just to make sure that they remember you and keep you in mind. And eventually that consistency and persistency will 100% pay off at a large percentage of those sales calls, provided you're being likable and consistent and persistent. Here we are at one of my customers' accounts. This is an exotic car detailer slash storage slash motor car seller. We're in the basement right now getting ready to work on this S500 right here. But Jesse's jaw has dropped to the ground looking around at all these amazing cars that I'm lucky enough to work on quite a few of these. Got the picture from the customer. You can see that there's damage here, and obviously this piece has been off, and when people sit down, this has been crushing into the metal piece. We're going to repair this along with some damage on the center console. And then they're going to replace this piece, which will likely prevent this from happening again. So when you get started in your business, accounts like this that we're at right now come to you by going out and getting them. They're not Googling where to get leather seats fixed. They're asking their friends. They're relying on somebody pulling up and introducing themselves like us. And this is work that you get regular. And they'll pay you your worth. You've got to let them know what your worth is, and you've got to do a good job, and you've got to be, you know, Johnny on the spot. They asked me to do this car 2 days ago, and I'm here because they want to sell it. So account-based work is work that you're going to get work regularly. You're going to get paid pretty well, and it's really rewarding to have long-term relationships, and you're not reselling yourself every single day to get work. Google-based, aka sit by the computer and wait for something to happen, that's where you get your good old bonded leather repairs. That's where you get the sofa that's falling apart that all you see is foam and cracked leather all over the place. Sure, you definitely get some good jobs, but there is nothing like going out and finding your own work and getting account-based work. That's what gives you regular, everyday work, and you're not worried what you're going to be doing next week, because you know that your account, once you have enough accounts, your accounts are going to be calling at some point. All right, so we're done with this car. This is an Mercedes S500. I think it's from the 90s sometime. They had some damage here, which you can still see some dimpling, but that's because there's nothing behind this to really stiffen it up or, you know, pull tight. So that's about as good as we could do. The customer wanted the color back, which it is. That took us a little under an hour, I'd say, and that's probably going to be a $225 job. And we get to spend our time in this amazing place. I'd spend another hour here for the same money, I think. So anyway, that's a wrap on that job. On to the next one. One of the things that I'm big on is finding a way to be accountable and be held accountable. So in the beginning, clearly you're not doing a whole lot of jobs at first. If you're doing 1 or 2 jobs a day, that's great in the first month. So I was trying to figure out a way so that I could hold myself accountable, and I thought to myself, well, at some point I want to be doing $1,000 a day in work. So what I did is I said, okay, if I do $250 worth of sales, actual work in a day, and I've got nothing else scheduled, I'll give myself $50 credit for every sales call I did. So if I did, let's say $250 of worth of jobs, I now have to do $750 worth of sales calls at $50 a sales call. And at the end of the day, I knew that I did everything I had to do as a business owner to not only get the work done that I had, but also plant seeds for the future. And when I got home I could say to myself, man, I did $1,000. I'm kind of into energy and law of attraction and all of that stuff. And I got myself to believe that I did $1,000 that day. And after a while, when you have that expectation in your head, that's a positive expectation. All of a sudden, you're more positive throughout those sales calls, and your energy level is higher, more pleasant, no stress, and all of those sales calls start to, you know, turn into more and more work as you go along, because you're just out there with positive energy. So it's great to have some way to hold yourself accountable, and that I found to be a great way to do it, and I highly recommend that to other people. Along with find yourself some buddies in the Fibrenew business that will bring you up. And I pretty quickly located a few of those guys, and they're some of my best friends. And I can't even tell you the value that those relationships have given to me, you know, business-wise and personally. So between those two things, you know, it can be a lonely business if you allow it to be, but it shouldn't be. You should. If you go out and find people that you can talk to regularly, and I mean, I chat with one of the guys every single day, and it just makes Fibrenew, it just adds to the great experience that it already is.